Hi everybody, Michelle McLuhan, astrologer and life navigator, and I'm bringing you an astrology update for the lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, which is happening on the 7th of September. And this is a potent time because we're basically entering into what we call the eclipse gateway, which is between a full moon and a new moon eclipse, or vice versa. This one we're having the full moon first and then the new moon eclipse 2 weeks later. So on the 7th, we have a full moon lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. It's also known as the blood moon. It's a time where the earth moves in between the sun and the moon, casting a shadow onto the moon, and it looks red if we're able to see it. It's a total eclipse. So you should be able to see it. In South Africa, it will be visible. If you look to the east at around about 8 p.m., at 10 past 8, I think is when it becomes full. That's sort of astronomically, so that's looking at the moon and seeing the physicality of the eclipse and how that feels for you. But astrology really is symbology, so we look at it symbolically. Now the next eclipse is going to happen on the 21st of September, and that comes very closely aligned with the equinox, and that's going to be the second new moon in Virgo that we've had this season. So there's a very, very strong theme. The Virgo-Pisces axis is really, really highlighted at this time. What happens at an eclipse is that the sun and the moon are closely connected with the nodes of the moon, and the nodes of the moon is the karmic axis. So this is kind of a karmic turning point when we have an eclipse, especially this one, because of the associated planets that are actually aligned with it. Just before the full moon, Saturn has moved back into Pisces for its last journey into Pisces before it comes back into Aries in February next year, along with Neptune, which is also coming back into Aries next year. So I've spoken about that quite a lot on my channel, as have other astrologers. But what that really means is that we are really, really finishing off a very long cycle. So Saturn's cycle is around 28, 29 years. So for the last 29 years, Saturn's been moving through the zodiac and is now coming to the end of that cycle. Pisces is the final sign on the wheel, on the zodiac wheel. So when any planet comes into Pisces, it's finishing off a cycle. And because Saturn is such a long cycle, you would feel it more. And Neptune is finishing off a 165-year cycle in February next year. So these lunar and solar eclipses are not just on their own. They're actually part of much, much bigger cycles. So see this as a real turning point. And it's got to do with our soul's evolution, not just the human dimension, particularly this full moon. So the sign of Pisces is what we call a mutable water sign. Pisces is a sign of forgiveness, of connection, of release, of surrender, of connection to something bigger, to source consciousness, to divine consciousness. Whenever anything happens in Pisces, there's a deeper, more profound sensitivity. Our intuition might be heightened. Our connection to the divine might be heightened. So might our emotions, because it's watery and we feel things coming up from the unconscious. Pisces rules the unconscious. So a full moon in Pisces, full moon is always when the sun is here and the moon is here and they're opposite each other. So you always have to look at the polarity. So we have the moon in Pisces along with the north node of destiny, and we have the sun along with Mercury, the planet of communication, in the sign of Virgo. So those two are very different energies. The one is very logical, the one is very intuitive. So Virgo is quite a logical, analytical, strategic sign, and Pisces is all about intuition, feeling into something, going inside and feeling into the flow of energy so that you can actually make your next move or not make your next move according to what comes in and what drops into your awareness. The other part of it is Virgo is very much about service, practical service in the world, looking after your body, looking after your diet, looking after your exercise, getting things in order, detoxing your environment so that you've got more space for growth for this new cycle that's going to be coming in next year. Clearing out, letting go, releasing. Virgo is very good at discernment, at seeing what needs to go and what needs to stay. But it's more sort of analytical, it's more strategic. Pisces is really just about surrendering and allowing whatever needs to move through or out to do so. That's Pisces energy. Virgo is very connected with the details of things, and it's quite connected with the mind. Very busy mind, very analytical, very connected with wanting to actually put things in order. Virgo is very much about making order out of chaos. Remembering we've got 2 new moons in Virgo, which is why I'm bringing this in a little bit more. Pisces, on the other hand, is about letting go of all of that. Pisces is the divine consciousness that resides underneath the busy mind. So the busy mind goes chung chung chung, and Pisces is there as this beautiful ocean of awareness. Pisces basically is connected with the universal consciousness. Virgo is more connected with the human consciousness. And we're both, because we are spirit beings having a physical experience, of course. So we need to honor both of them. We can't just honor one. But this full moon is actually really encouraging us to reconnect to that source consciousness, to the divine consciousness, to the energy of making space, letting go, surrendering. And this is kind of confirmed or amplified by Saturn, which is the planet of structure. Saturn is almost like the wise elder, could be like a strict father. That could feel like that for some people. It's that inner voice that says, look, you need to do this, and what have you done, and how have you done it, and how are you doing on your journey, and what structures do you need to put in, and what you need to commit to. Saturn has now moved back into Pisces until February next year. So that is part of that longer, bigger cycle that I spoke about. And that is asking us to say, what have I learned over the last, let's just say 2.5 years, to make the cycle shorter, which is Pisces, Saturn in Pisces journey. How have I learned? How have I grown? What am I embodying now? If I had a desire to, for example, deepen my spirituality or commit to a creative journey, how have I done with that? And is there anything standing in my way? Am I resisting that in any way? If I made a commitment to myself to, for example, meditate regularly, have I done so? Have I paid attention to this inner world of mine, or have I been sucked into the world of things and form and information too much, for example? So Saturn will always ask us to reassess. And when it goes backwards, especially as it turns backwards, its influence becomes even stronger. So let's just say sort of 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, or even part of the longer cycle of 28 years ago, you decided that you wanted to write a book. Let's just say. Let's just call that as an example. It's not necessarily that. This now revisit of Saturn will say, okay, so how's that going? Have you written the book? And what do you need to do to turn that into reality? Does that mean that you need to commit to writing every day for 1 hour, irrespective of what else happens? If your intention was to manufacture something or to create something creative, has that actually manifested into form? And if not, what would you need to do to bring it into form if you still want to do that? So that's what Saturn will ask us. But while it's moving back here, old stuff might come up, because these are old unconscious patterns that might be appearing now. You might be feeling old pain, physically, emotionally. You might be feeling old grief. You might be feeling anything which you haven't actually been able to clear that might be blocking your way forward, blocking the channel of life energy moving through you. So it's very, very strong energy. And really what Pisces is saying to us, this full moon in Pisces, and then I'll do another one on the next new moon in Virgo, which will, as I said, be a solar eclipse. What it's really asking us to do is to spend time just feeling into where you are now and what you need to actually commit to more, and what you need to release, I think is a really, really big one. How you can be more compassionate with yourself and others. How you can maybe come across to yourself and others in a more loving way. How you can sort of greet the world in that more loving, softened way. It's definitely a softening full moon. How can you actually let go of resistance, lean back a little bit, and allow the changes to take place? Because we can't force that. It's not a doing energy. Forgiving and letting go and releasing resistance is not a doing energy. Because as soon as we try to do it, we go into resistance. So it's to actually release the resistance and to very largely release the busyness of the mind. So to connect with something underneath the mind as often as you can. Last night in our inner space community, we were mentioning that, the power of the pause. And I would say this is really important over the next while, is just to bring in the power of the pause. So when you have something that you're doing, let's just say you have a meeting, after the meeting, just see if you can sit quietly for a few moments, it's literally a few seconds, and just pause, breathe. Bring yourself back into presence by breathing. Long, slow out breath, and then another long, slow out breath. And as you do that, just relax your shoulders and open. And then move into your next thing. And see how that really, really can transform your life. It is such an easy thing to do. You're not trying to visualize anything. You're not trying to grasp for anything. You're just injecting pauses into your day. Because there's a lot going on. Uranus has just moved into retrograde as well, which is shaking up, stirring up mental facilities. There's a lot going on the planet, obviously. There's a lot of confusion. There can also be a lot of breakdowns in communication, but there can also be breakthroughs. So I'm just saying that connect with the spaces in between the doingness, the spaces in between the thoughts. Give yourself that luxury of just sitting quietly and integrating the lessons over the last few years, the insights. Ask for insights. If you're dealing with something difficult, maybe you're dealing with a pain issue, maybe you're dealing with an emotional issue, a financial issue, sit quietly. Don't listen to anything. Just be. Put your phone away, turn off the computer, maybe light some incense, maybe light a candle, and integrate. A lot of our time is spent inputting or outputting. So we're listening, we're taking in information, we're talking, we're absorbing, or we're actually doing. And many of us have actually lost or diminished the ability to just be present for what is. And that's where the intuition comes through. That's where the guidance comes through. And if we are overloading ourselves with input or output, we can't hear the messages. So I would say there's never been a better time, especially in this eclipse gateway, to really connect inside. Just one last reminder, John and my partner and I are running a retreat at Hogsback from the 19th to the 23rd of September, and it's been specifically chosen to fall over the solar eclipse new moon in Virgo and the equinox. That's very powerful energy. It's basically a reboot, a reset. Whether or not you're joining us for that, this is the process leading up to that and then actually resetting at that 21st of September. The full moon, this full moon, is a culmination. It's a releasing. It's a letting go, and it's a coming into alignment. And then for the next 2 weeks after the full moon, it's releasing and releasing and releasing. It's like you're weeding the fields so that you can prepare for the new growth, which may happen and the reset, which may happen on the 21st, around about the 21st of September, with the solar eclipse in Virgo. So I think that's quite a strong message from the cosmic skies. And, we're obviously not separate from that. We're all connected. I drew a card for us. I drew it out of the Divine Feminine pack by Megan Watterson because I feel that it's a very feminine full moon. And that goes for guys too. Zhou Xuaning, I think that's the way I pronounce it, the mystic of peace. I am peace. When my mind is clear, the way is clear. Who she is. She embodies the unwavering tranquility that exists deep beneath the turbulence of our daily thoughts. She was a 12th century Taoist mystic and poet. The night before her son's birth, she had a dream that she was immersed in a red mist. Interesting with this blood moon. This is a very auspicious sign in Chinese culture. The title given to her as a master was Free Human of Mystic Peace. The emphasis in her poetry was the power inherent in stillness. The secret of the receptive, she writes, that's Pisces energy, must be sought in stillness also. The way, or Taoism, is a spiritual practice of clearing the mind so that when we take action, it isn't from the ego, it's from the source of life itself. The pedestal of awareness is steady as a boulder. She taught that meditation allows us to disengage from the surface drama the ego can invite us into. She often refers to the moon in her poetry because this was the symbol of the eternal sky, or the freedom we can reach if we stop looking at the light and shadows the moon casts and see the moon itself. Isn't that amazing? When the soul selects this card, Albert Einstein reportedly said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Very true. Clarity only comes from clarity. There is a peace and a calm that exists far beneath the constant banter most of us listen to all day within our minds or within our devices. Clarissa Pinkola Estes calls it the river beneath the river. It's the steady flow of the universal life force that wants us to reach our goal if we can only get still enough to merge with it. Wu Wei in Taoism translates as doing nothing. It's a sacred feminine art of trusting the force of life that exists within us all. Zhou mastered this spiritual practice by calming her mind and experiencing the still center that is at the eye of every storm. She calls us to be still, to do nothing other than shift our awareness. Come out of the current state of mind we're in before making any moves or decisions. She reminds us that we only want to take action when what is moving us is the force of love at the heart of everything. Absolutely amazing. Soul voice meditation. Enter the heart and ask to experience stillness. Repeat the mantra, I am peace. I am peace. When my mind is clear, the way is clear. This is such a potent message for this full moon. I think you can see that. So I think that's about it from me. Hopefully that helps. Just remember, Sunday, leading up to Sunday, big feelings, go into stillness. Connect with your breath. Soften. Breathe out. Let go. Release. I hope that helps. If you'd like to explore these big themes, Saturn, Neptune, all these big things happening in our cosmic skies, you're welcome to reach out and book a session with me. The details are below. And if this was useful, please would you like and share and comment. Let me know how you're feeling this energy, how you feel into these bigger themes and bigger alignments and bigger energies. I love to get your comments. It's great. Thanks for listening. Lots of love and take care.